Now, within minutes of a gunman opening fire on Kirk, videos of the deadly shooting flooded social media. You may have seen them yourself. The speed at which they spread and their sheer quantity show just how difficult it is for tech companies to monitor violent content.
It's been 1 month since Charlie Kirk was assassinated, and there are still things we don't know. Teen investigative reporter Nate Carlisle at Utah Valley University. Records requests, they're still pending. Search warrants, they're still sealed.
The world thought the story ended on September 10th, 2025. Everyone knows the headlines, the chaos, the tragedy. But the Charlie Kirk case didn't end there. The investigation didn't stop. Evidence kept emerging. Witnesses came forward. Digital trails were analyzed, and new questions arose that could change everything we thought we knew. Tonight, we go beyond the headlines. This is the follow-up, the developments, the twists, and the mysteries that continue to unfold. The trial captured headlines, dominating news cycles and public conversations alike. But behind the polished courtroom drama, investigators were peeling back layers of a story far more complex than anyone outside law enforcement could imagine. Every piece of evidence, from surveillance footage to digital records, was meticulously analyzed, revealing fragments that seemed insignificant on their own, but, when pieced together, hinted at a chillingly larger picture. Witness statements, some never intended for public release, offered glimpses into interactions and behaviors that painted a portrait of someone whose motivations were anything but simple. The media narrative of a lone actor, desperate and isolated, began to unravel as the investigation delved deeper into corners the public had yet to see. As the digital forensics team dug through terabytes of information, patterns began to emerge. Deleted messages, cryptic social media exchanges, and online interactions that had been thought lost forever resurfaced, pointing to a web of connections that raised unsettling questions. Was Robinson truly operating alone? Or was he merely a single node in a network that had carefully avoided detection? Each recovered communication added another layer of complexity. A new thread suggesting coordination, influence, and perhaps even manipulation. The deeper investigators went, the more the story defied the neat narratives presented in court, revealing a shadowy dimension to the events that few could have predicted. Experts in criminal psychology were brought in to examine these patterns, providing insight into the subtle mechanisms of online radicalization. They noted how digital spaces can amplify pressure points, nudging individuals toward extreme ideologies through repeated exposure to coded language, memes, and rhetorical reinforcement. In Robinson's case, these warning signs were not glaring. They were hidden beneath seemingly innocuous interactions, layered with humor, symbolism, and cultural references that only a trained eye could decipher. This covert radicalization highlighted a dangerous reality. The internet can become a breeding ground for extremism. For months, federal agencies worked in near total secrecy, running exhaustive analyses and coordinating across departments to understand how a single person could be propelled to such drastic action, revealing connections and motivations that blurred the line between personal grievance. By the time the courtroom lights dimmed and the trial concluded, a far more intricate story of manipulation, hidden networks, and subtle radicalization had been uncovered. One that challenged the public perception of Robinson as a solitary actor and exposed the darker realities of influence in the digital age. The digital trail was complex. Chat rooms, private forums, and encrypted channels revealed an undercurrent of discussion that hinted at premeditation. Some messages were ominous but vague. Others were threatening, referencing, silencing noise in ways that didn't just point to Kirk. Analysts asked themselves, how many voices influenced Robinson? Were there unseen players? Was this the result of ideology alone, or a calculated network of manipulation? Deleted posts, recovered drafts, and suspicious interactions suggested that Robinson's path was shaped over time. Experts now call it the radicalization continuum, the process by which ordinary individuals can be nudged toward extreme action through constant exposure to toxic ideas. Investigators found evidence that points to conversations months before the tragedy. Discussions about silencing opposition, debates about justice, and a strange fixation on public influence. The follow-up investigation was no longer just about a single criminal act. It had grown into a study of societal pressures, online influence, and the dark corners of digital spaces where ideas are weaponized. The trial ended in a conviction, but the fallout continued. Public opinion was split. Debates over responsibility, radicalization, and political rhetoric ignited across the nation. Many asked, were warning signs ignored? Could intervention have prevented this? And what about those digital voices that may have influenced him? Were they ever held accountable? Journalists uncovered new court filings, unseen evidence, and testimonies not discussed in the trial, suggesting that what we saw in the courtroom was just one piece of a larger puzzle. Online, discussions continued to rage. Some labeled Robinson a monster. Others claimed he was a product of an environment fueled by extremist ideas, misinformation, and echo chambers. The case was no longer just a criminal investigation. It had become a mirror reflecting deeper societal fractures, ideological battles, and the limits of accountability in a digital age. Even after the conviction, new leads continue to surface. Investigators are reviewing previously overlooked communications, financial transactions, and anonymous tips. There are inconsistencies that raise questions. Could there have been accomplices? Were threats ignored by authorities? Were warning signs lost in plain sight? Analysts suggest that understanding Robinson's actions may require examining the culture that influenced him, the forums he frequented, and the rhetoric that convinced him action was necessary. The case remains a chilling reminder. The end of the trial is not the end of the story. Every discovery, every detail, adds a new layer of suspense. The Charlie Kirk follow-up case forces us to confront uncomfortable questions about influence, responsibility, and digital culture. How do ideas spread? When does rhetoric cross the line into action? And how can society protect itself from the invisible pressures that shape behavior in subtle but dangerous ways? Legal experts, sociologists, and online safety advocates agree. The investigation is far from over. New evidence may yet redefine our understanding of the case. This isn't just a story about a crime, it's a story about society, ideology, and the thin line between thought and action. The follow-up investigation continues. New leads, new questions, new mysteries. The Charlie Kirk case is no longer just a headline, it's a cautionary tale. A reminder that even after the headlines fade, the story keeps evolving. I'm your host, and this is True Crime Diaries. Because the story doesn't end when the news stops reporting.